Aloha, welcome to the Friday Marketing Jam Session. I'm Tom Gaddis, and on today's live show, Richie Cronin is joining us, and we're going to be talking about how to make accountability, mentorship, and support your secret superpower, right? These are two things, Richie, that are vastly underestimated, in my opinion, but really nothing can move the needle faster than getting help and support from a community of like-minded peers. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to do shout outs. We're going to have a member of the week. We're going to take your questions. We're just going to hang out for an hour. It's going to be pretty awesome. I'm going to cue up the intro, and then we'll be back here in one momento.
It's time, the moment you've been waiting for. Get ready for the fastest 60 minutes of marketing strategies and tactics to grow and scale your business from anywhere in the world. After 167 agonizing hours, we've returned for a brand new Aloha Marketing Jam session. And now, here are your hosts.
Woo! Fired up.
It must be Friday.
Everybody fired up out there. Man, that is awesome. We'll bring that down a little. And then it got to throw this in. I love that one. Well, welcome. So Richie, man, what's been going on this week with you?
Oh, yeah, a crazy busy week. A lot of systems and processes, and I've been doing a lot of online studying as well. I've upgraded my high level and implementing their top tier. So there's been a lot of learning for me this week.
Yeah, that's when you're talking about tools like high level and things like that, it's to me, it's interesting because, they do so much, but, and we'll talk about this today with mentorship and accountability, but, it can be a little overwhelming, right? Like a lot of people think, well, if I'm going to use something like that, I've got to know everything it does and have it all figured out. And that has not been our experience. Our experience has been, it's piecemeal. You start with basic things, move your way up, and eventually you're doing it all. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's see who all is here. Sandy Smith, what's up? Welcome, Sandy. Enrique. Man, look. Oh, there's Dorn.
Hey, there's no party without punch.
Donna, hello. Doug Page. Look at all those people in there. Welcome. The She Sharks in Force. Devendra, James. Welcome, everybody. Awesome. Yeah, I didn't get to talk about this last week, Richie, but I had a little incident a week ago Tuesday, and my entire left big toe, the toenail, got ripped off.
Oh,
one whole piece.
Yeah,
and
not pleasant. Mm.
So it was interesting. It's doing much better. Surprisingly enough, I because we're talking about accountability. And one of the things that I have found to be very helpful for me with accountability is one, a routine, right? A schedule. So and when I talk about a schedule, not like where every minute and every second and all that stuff is, scheduled out, but where okay, I know the important things that I want to get done on a daily and weekly basis, right? So, one of those things for me is going to the gym. And so, I'm always looking at my week and based on my calendar, pre-planning when I'm going to go, okay, I can go this time on this day. And that way I'm not because if I have to get up and try to figure it out during the day or just leave it up to chance, I don't make it, but I want to make it a point, right? So I can look and say, oh, this day I need to get up a little earlier because I got things at this time and I want to make sure I get there. So, but the other part of that, so there's the schedule, right? I have a routine, I have a schedule. I look at that. That's one part of the accountability. And I do this with all my work stuff too. right? I do this with all the work stuff. But the second part is I have an app, right? That's got all of the the stuff that I do at the gym. And so, it shows like every day you go and all that. And so when I'm doing non-workout stuff, non-health related stuff, there's an app called Streak. Have you ever heard of it?
I haven't heard of it. No.
Have you guys out there heard of Streak? Put in the chat if you have heard of Streak.
I've seen a streak before, but that was at a rugby game. Yeah.
Have you through the quad, right? You go streaking through the quad. Yeah. So Streak is just a really simple app. You tell it you're going to do something every day, and then it tracks how long of a streak you go on and do it every day.
Just like
it's
just the value in that.
Yeah, it's just like the old thing of having a calendar and marking. Like this is basically it, but in app form. So Jerry Seinfeld is real famous for this. He used to talk about he would write so many jokes every day, and he would have a calendar on the wall, and every time he did his writing assignment, he'd put a big X. And like as the X's built up, it was easier to keep going because he didn't want to break the streak he was on, right?
Yeah.
And so this app does that. It tracks the streaks and shows you on each day to keep you motivated. And then, if you break it, it just starts over and you go on a new streak. So I've found those two things to be very helpful. And what this has to do with my toe is, I had that experience, the toe gets ripped off. My first thought is, well, I can't go to the gym, but then I thought, it doesn't really hurt that bad. Like I should just go. I should just go and at least let's just go and see, right? And
have arm day instead of leg day.
Well, yeah, I looked at the exercises and I thought, well, maybe I can adjust, and one of the things on my workout for that day was 50 burpees as fast as you could do them. Ooh, and I thought, well, this is probably not going to be good. But I went and I thought, well, I'll just do 5. I'll see how I feel, right? And I felt pretty good after 5. So anyway, I was able to do the rest of that. But the reason I tell you all this is because all of this applies to business as well. Let's talk about something that a lot of people don't enjoy doing and how all of this stuff I'm talking about can help you do it. Prospecting, reaching out.
It was on the tip of my tongue. The one thing that people don't, and they procrastinate about it all the time, is prospecting, is picking up the phone, or just setting yourself that discipline of some actions to keep following as well. And if you look at, and something I talked about, did a training session with Remote Millionaires yesterday, and pointed out that every single 7-8 figure agency owner on the planet does one thing every day, and that's prospecting. If it's an hour a day, no matter how many tens of millions you're making, they do an hour a day of prospecting, and they're consistent with it, and they're accountable to it as well. Because when you're not prospecting, you are not feeding the funnel that feeds your business. So that accountability and putting that system in place is just mandatory if you want to be in this business.
Yeah, absolutely. And really what that entails, like really what we're talking about here is developing discipline. And for all of you out there, when I started, I was very, very undisciplined. Like I had this idea in my head that freedom meant that I could just do whatever I wanted to do whenever I wanted to do it. That was my idea of like, that's what true freedom is, right? Like I just get up, there's nothing to do. I just wander from here to there. But the reality is when I started to really work on developing some discipline and doing consistent actions on the daily basis, right? On a daily basis, that allowed me to get traction and create, to move forward in my business, which started to pay off financially, which then gave me a real kind of freedom, which was I had choices, right? I had choices of the types of cars I could buy, the types of places I could live, even where I wanted to live, right? Like where did I want to, like I had choices because I had some stability. I don't know if that's the word behind it. Like all of my life leading up until I was in my 40s, I was broke, very, very broke, like always living paycheck to paycheck, always living behind, all that kind of stuff. And but I also was very undisciplined, right? Like I was very, very undisciplined. And so the kind of switch for me was realizing that, oh, if I take the time to do these things and do the stuff that makes me uncomfortable or that I don't really feel like doing today, it gives me the ability to have more freedom in my life, even though I do have to do these things, right? And another thing that was pointed out to me was like, when you start to get responsibility and when you start to get influence, more is expected of you.
Yep.
Right. So think about the president of the United States. A lot of times you think, oh, well, that guy, I mean, that's the most powerful. Let's say that's the most powerful guy in the US, right? Most powerful guy in the US cannot just get up and decide to go to McDonald's, right? Like every minute, every second, every hour of that guy's day or that person's day is mapped out. Like they've got this whole security detail. Like there's no, like, where's the freedom, right? So more responsibility, more things that you're expected to do. Same thing in business. And how this all kind of ties back to accountability is if you take that little story I just told you about my toe, there's a lot of things in there that will help you develop discipline and become more accountable too. One, creating a schedule, right? Mm-hmm. Which requires you to follow a plan because you need a plan. So when you have a schedule, you have a plan, right? So we have a plan, getting into routine, scheduling specific time to do the tasks that need to be done. I didn't say do the tasks that you want to do. Do the tasks that need to be done to get the results that you want. And then when you don't feel like doing those tasks, you show up and you start to do them anyway. I used to talk about this all the time when we first started Offline Sharks with prospecting and going and like reaching out and actually talking to real life business people to try to get them to be clients at my agency. And I would just say, look, I'm going to reach out to 5 people. And if I don't feel like it after that, then I'll just quit. But at least I reached out to 5, right?
Yeah.
And then if I felt like it, I moved on. And if I didn't, I didn't. But usually when you just get started, you feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. It creates momentum. And the real trick about, being accountable is once you create momentum is keeping it. And it's the same thing I was saying before about putting the, Seinfeld putting the cross on his calendar. He's got momentum. So why would you break the trend, and losing momentum brings everything crashing down. And it's the unseen things that really hurt, especially in a business.
Yeah. And look, this is what Donna said. Donna said, I spend about an hour a day doing cold calls just to stay sharp. I don't have to do it anymore. I just do it because it makes me feel like, what if I was back to square one? And it helps me build up the discipline. I just spent this week alone getting back into it. 1 hour, that's all I need. Yeah, I mean, I think that's great, Donna, right? And, this applies to whatever you're doing in your business, even just setting aside an hour a day to just work in your business. I'm a big believer in probably the most recent book. It's been around a lot longer than this book, but probably the most recent one has been Atomic Habits. But there's another one that I like. It's actually I believe it's Japanese. It's called the Kaizen Way. Yeah. And it's all about when there are tasks that you need to do, you break them into little smaller chunks. I think also Brian Tracy has a book called Eat That Frog, right? Same kind of concept. So, even just like if you say, well, I'm terrified of picking up the phone and calling a business. Well, then you start with an action that's smaller than that. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to get up each day and I'm going to start building the list of people I'm going to reach out to. Then I'm just going to make one call, right? Maybe I just dial the number and hang up before anybody answers. Right? Like, I'm just gonna dial the number and then hang up if anybody answers. Yeah, or if I get scared, just hang up. Like, I don't even really need to talk to them, right? So those types of things, making it easy for you to build up, right? One call a day. Like, we're just going to do one call a day just to get over that fear and to move forward. Because, and this is where mentorship and things like that come into this as well. Because when someone has been through this process, right? Because when you're building a business and you're trying to become an entrepreneur, we all go through these struggles. There's all kinds of things that no one wants to do when you're building a business, right? Like, all kinds of uncomfortable conversations you have to have, uncomfortable situations you have to be in. Like, it's not like always just a happy-go-lucky feeling. And so it's really good to, be able to turn to someone who's been down that path and is doing what you want to do. And they can say, hey, listen, like, look, I experienced that, because we all experience that. Nick experiences it. I experience it. Everybody experiences it. But when you can turn around and tell somebody like, hey, I experienced that. This is how I got over it. This is how I got past it. Try to do this, right? Those are all really, really key. And I think that's where our community really stands out, right? We got a lot of people in here that take action and do all that stuff.
Yeah. And particularly and we've got, communities in the communities as well. And if you look at Shark Alliance has got a fantastic planning program that they execute by quarter and across the year as well. It's a system of accountability that's built in there, and they have a meeting. I think it's once a month. They have a meeting just about that planning, and that is effectively an accountability session for agency owners who are building their businesses. So yeah, it's there are great tools, and being in a network of people who are doing the same thing, it's the number one thing you should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, this isn't a new office. I moved my desk and shifted the view so the window wasn't behind me. But so the other thing I would say too is you mentioned communities and communities. In Agency Evolution, we have Accountability Monday, right? So in there, we ask all the members to post what they're going to get done for that week, so that the team can follow up and we can follow up and keep them accountable, right? And one thing that I want to do is I want to give a special shout out to the people in Agency Evolution, Remote Millionaires, that did the accountability post this week. So Shushan put together this awesome graphic. Check this out. This is something we want to do to encourage people to continue to be accountable, right? So Devendra, Piazza, Kalama, Bill, all of them, awesome work, getting that stuff out, checking in, and keep it up, right?
And they've got one thing in common, Tom. They're all action takers.
Yeah.
They're getting on, they're getting it done, and I think I've seen some great wins coming out of those people as well, and there's a reason why they're getting wins,
Yeah, absolutely, and a lot of it too, like one of the reasons we wanted to do that, right, to call out people for making the accountability post, because you think maybe that seems kind of silly, kind of small, like, shouldn't everybody do it? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care how small the thing is you're trying to do. Doing it every day consistently is difficult. Like, just try anything. Like, for instance, just say, look, I'm going to read one page of a book every day. Just make that your goal and see how long you can go, right? Because when we talk about accountability, when we talk about mentorship and how that applies, we're talking about building discipline. We're talking about mindset. We're talking about figuring out how to get past that stuff, right? Because you're not always going to feel like doing what you need to do that day, but you still got to suit up, you got to show up, and you got to do it, right?
Yeah, and you can build in the uncomfortable ones, and then build in the happy ones as well. I'm going to have one beer every day for the rest of the year. It's something I
One
can
beer.
achieve, you know. I know I can do that. You know? Yeah.
See,
And
my
sometimes I'll
problem,
have
Richie,
two.
is my problem is I don't just want one.
Yeah, hey, but you know, if I have two, it's because I've done the other things I didn't want to do, you know. So
A
yeah,
little. Hey, well,
reward.
you bring up a good point there. You bring up another good strategy for accountability, and that is rewards, right? Setting up rewards for yourself. Now, we do some of this in our community, right? Shark shoutouts. What are shark shoutouts? Shark shoutouts are a reward for taking action and getting a result, right? So rewards can be external. Like we look at what you guys are doing in the community and we think, how can we improve these good behaviors? How can we help somebody to maybe crack through and see that taking action is what they need to be doing, that like, this is a real business, that we need to do things. Well, Shark Shoutouts came about as that. We thought, well, maybe if people see people getting traction and realize that it's nothing special, that it's not just because I'm Tom and Richie's Richie and Nick is Nick. It's really anybody who takes the actions and follows the process could do it. Then by doing that every week, maybe it gets you fired up, right? Like I used to go in the Facebook group when I would do prospecting and like look up all the wins and do that before I started prospecting to just get me fired up and show my mind that like, hey, this is possible, and this is nothing crazy you're doing. But you can also do that for yourself, set up the schedule, the things you're going to do, and then pick a reward at the end for when you do it. Now, this is really important. When you do this process, you have to give yourself the reward. Because if you do the process and don't give yourself the reward, you're kind of telling your subconscious that you're not really trustworthy.
Yeah,
right?
And you're not valuing yourself as well.
And yes, and you're not valuing yourself. So
and that's the start of all ruin. You've got to value yourself and what you bring to the table every day. And look at yourself in the mirror and just tell yourself what is good about you to start your day. Because confidence breeds confidence. And if you're going to talk to someone in a cold phone call, then go into it with the right mental attitude to start with. Because if you're picturing success and you're motivating yourself for success, you will come across as a more successful person, and that is more engaging with other people. People want to hang out with successful people. It's as simple as that.
They do. And look, if that's an area that you lack skills in, like if you find yourself really uncomfortable in social settings and really uncomfortable doing that kind of stuff, you want to work on that. Pick up a book like How to Win Friends and Influence People. I mean, a classic, right? That really gives you some great things that you can do to become that kind of person that people, want to be around and want to talk to and all that stuff. And really teaches you a level of professionalism and what it, kind of the mindset part that it takes to do that part. So, if that's something you like, you work on that. The other thing with so one of the first rewards I did for myself was, I had this thing, when I fill this card, when I fill my first card, my mailer card that I was doing, I said, if I fill this card, I'm going to buy myself an iPad. I really wanted an iPad. Now, when I filled the card, I had the thought of like, I don't want to spend, now I didn't want to spend the money on the iPad, right? Because I was like, I don't want to do that. But I made myself do it. I made myself go do it. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I did that. One is because of what I talked about. When I make a promise to myself, I want to keep it. And so my promise to myself was do this, get this. I wanted to make sure I kept that, right? The other part of it too is it also helped me realize like there's more abundance than I like. It's really easy to get into the scarcity mindset and think I need to keep all this money like this, like this is a frivolous expense, but it's not a frivolous expense. It was for something important, right? It's a promise I made to myself. So, I think there's some things there from the money side of things too, like really just telling my subconscious mind that like, hey, there's more. Like you did this, you can do this again. And, investing in this iPad, which you're going to use in the business and all that stuff, that's okay. Like, it's all right. You can easily make more of what you're doing, getting those kinds of feelings. And so I want to kind of recap, because we talked about a lot of stuff. We're only like 20 minutes into this. So if you have a pen and paper, I hope you're writing this stuff down, because this is really important. So some of the strategies we've covered and tactics we covered for holding yourself accountable: mentorship, right? Finding people that are doing what you want to do, so that when you have questions, or you can look to them and say, hey, how did you get through this? Or you can watch and they'll tell you, like, this is, when you come to this is how I got through it, right? That's one thing. A lot of mentorship in our Facebook group. We've got a lot of free stuff, this show, these things, plus, in the Shark Alliance and in Agency Evolution, a little bit, higher level of mentorship, all that stuff. So mentorship, accountability, right? So what are some strategies for holding yourself accountable? Have a plan, set a schedule.
Well, and Tom, set standards. Standards
Yep.
are directly related to accountability. The standard for you and the standard for your team members as well. Because those standards create the benchmark for an accountability. So yeah, standards.
Yep. Develop little routines, right? Develop routines to keep you on track, and then track your success. So those are the things we've covered so far. A couple of things I would add to that, because you mentioned, feeling good about yourself, staying motivated, those kinds of things. Daily affirmations. Find some good daily affirmations that go to a thing. Like, I do daily affirmations. Two of my, I guess, my favorites are, I do one that's like, every dollar I contribute to the economy comes back to me multiplied, right? Meaning, again, trying to just get through my thick skull that spending money isn't a bad thing. It's like spending money.
It's a good thing, yeah. I don't know about you, Tom, but my wife does a great job for both of us there. There's just package after package arriving at this house. So yeah, I don't know worry about spending money. She's doing enough of it already.
One of the best lines I ever heard, Richie, and I used to use this all the time when I'd talk to people, is I'd say, my wife said, I don't tell you how much money to make. You don't tell me how much to spend.
Yeah, well,
okay.
Mine has always made her own money, and I said, well, whatever you want to spend it on, honey, you knock your socks off. There's no rules or restrictions.
Yeah. But those are all some solid strategies to hold yourself accountable, to start taking some action, to get some results. The final thing I would kind of say about this, and then I want to do some Shark shout outs, Richie, and then we'll take your guys' questions and things, is all of this stuff that we're talking about, all of those things being said, still be easy on yourself, right? You're learning a new skill. You're developing new stuff, right? Yes, it's great to have a schedule. Yes, it's great to develop routines. Yes, it's great to track your progress. But you can also create a very unhappy life when you take all of that stuff to the extreme. So yes, we want to do those things, but at the end of the day, we're doing this to be happier every day, not miserable every day. So Cut yourself some slack when you're not following it, or when you step away for a few days, don't beat yourself up. Just whenever you can, whenever you're ready, come back to it and just start doing it again, right? No shame in starting up. Like, the only person that's judging anything is you. Like, no one else out there really cares, so just remember that. And, you want to be gentle but firm. Is that the right way, Richie?
That's the one. Yeah, gentle but firm. I mean, you got to place some accountability on yourself. You got to be realistic about it too. And if you keep on sweating about the small things and putting more and more on the pile, then you wind up getting to a point where you feel overwhelmed by it, and that'll stall your progress even more. So chip away. The most important skill I think you can learn especially in this business, is to prioritize. Prioritize the things that move the needle, that make a difference, that move you forward. That's the key. Focus. I've had a day of it today. As I said, I've been going through some training stuff, but I didn't get to that until 12:15, because I spent the morning doing the things that have to be done as we're at the end of the week, so that I've got my team are all focused on doing the right things next week. So I prioritize those actions because they are more revenue generating than me going through and learning a new system. So yeah, that's the key. Prioritize, be accountable to those priorities, and there's no harm in redirecting things if stuff starts to get a little bit off course and out of line.
Yeah, absolutely. And too, you guys can use the Facebook group as accountability. Make an accountability post in the Facebook group, right? Hey, this is what I'm doing this week. Somebody hold me accountable. That's a great thing.
Dawn, get those darn videos done, Richie. You slacker.
Yeah, that's right. Get them done. Get them done.
Yeah.
James said he had to step back and regroup recently, which, yeah, James, again, this is perfectly okay, right? I just saw this thing. Who was he? I can't remember what show he's on, but the singer Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, the ginger haired guy.
Yeah. So he was on a show and he played a video. If you go on YouTube and you look up Ed Sheeran, I think it's called Altitude, you'll see a video of him when he's 14 years old singing a song. He is terrible. He's terrible, okay? He does not sound good.
Well, he can't be worse than me. Yeah.
It's very bad. He's not very good. But 4 years later, he recorded a song that became a hit. And he talks about how in those 4 years, he learned how to harmonize, how to carry a tune, how to do all this stuff. And how did he do it? He did it by performing and taking action and looking at all his performances and getting help and doing all those things. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that he talks about in that video, which I just think is so true, is he says, like right off the bat, he's like, listen, success does nothing for you. He's like, success does nothing. Like, you only grow and get better because of failure. And he's like, we always focus on the success part, but like and I know this from experience, when you're experiencing success, it's even harder to change because you're thinking, we're doing everything right. Like, look at the success we're having. Like, you don't really analyze all your actions and what's going on. It's usually not until that success starts to waver or a bump comes up in the road that you go, oh man, we need to really like relook at this. And then you're like, we have not been doing this the best way. So, keep that in mind when we're talking about all of this stuff and taking these actions, right? Like, the failure is important, learn from it, use it to do things differently the next time and just keep trucking.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's 100%. And the learning is about succeeding and failing. That's how we learn, and it's and if you look at the military model of how they do everything is learn it, do it, teach it, and you keep on repeating that all the time. And it's the same thing in your agency business: is you got to learn it, you got to do it, you got to teach it. And if are you teaching it to team members, are you that? Because if you can teach it, and someone else can go and do it, then you've mastered it, and you can move on to the next thing. You grow and grow and grow. So. That's something that I look at all the time. And my biggest life learnings have come from failure, from things that didn't work out, and looking at it afterwards and going, right, well, I know not to do that again. And it's a great thing to live by. Yeah.
Well, so a couple things. One, I'm going to put a link at the bottom of the screen, and this is a link to. So we've got some new Agency Evolution members that we've been shouting out in the group and here on the show. We also have, Remote Millionaires members, people that are taking action, just like Richie was talking about, people that are taking action and getting things done. And so for a little inspiration, if you want to get a little inspiration, you can go to this link, remotemillionaires.com/accountable, remotemillionaires.com/accountable, and you can see the results that Agency Evolution members are getting, what they're doing, all that kind of stuff. I think this is important to keep you fired up and excited because, like, look, we're going to get off this. We have 60 people on this live show right now, right? You're going to get off this. You're going to be like, I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. Yeah, I'm going to implement all those things. Tomorrow, Saturday, you're probably going to kick back, relax, spend some time with the family. Sunday, maybe you do whatever. All of a sudden, Monday, that fire you had on Friday is not as great, right? So, do something to get yourself fired up. When you get off this live show, before you go into your weekend, maybe just make a plan on a piece of paper. This is what I'm going to do.
Write it down. Write down. There's 10 lines. Write it down and have it there for 8:30 on Monday morning, and look forward to it over the weekend. So I know what I'm doing at 8:30 on Monday, or whatever the time is that you want to get stuck into it. So, and if there is something that you really want to get done before this week closes out, prioritize that today and schedule the time for it over the weekend. Get it done, because that one win over the weekend will set you up for that Monday even more,
Yeah, you know what is a great thing that, and I just thought of that. I saw this and was like, I should do that, and I haven't started doing it. Noah Kagan at AppSumo, he has a great thing where he emails himself. So you can even do that. Like, go write yourself an email and schedule it to send to you on Monday morning, right? So that when you wake up and you look at your email, you've got this list of things you want to do, or Post-it notes work if you want to go all less techie. So, okay, I want to share that link, and then I want to do some shark shout outs. So I did not pull this up before we got started. Bad Tom.
I'll sing a song like Ed Sheeran does, eh?
I went to see him, and we went to see him at Allegiant Stadium. He was supposed to play in. So what happened was Jeff Hershey. You know Jeff Hershey, right?
I know the name.
Yeah. So Jeff Hershey was coming. Him and his family were coming to see Ed Sheeran in Vegas, and something happened and they couldn't come. And so he asked me if I wanted to go. So I got the tickets. We went down to the stadium on the concert night. 30 minutes before the stadium, he canceled it. So there was just thousands of people trying to get out of downtown Vegas. And then he rescheduled it for October 31st on Halloween. So we went on October 31st. It was actually a really good show. He dressed as Chucky. It was pretty funny. He looks like
brilliant. Yeah.
Okay. Let's do some shark shout outs. So I hear a little echo from your side of my voice, Richie.
Yeah, my computer fan is running constantly, so it might be a little bit of background noise from me, but
okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. First up, see, I can hear myself talking on your. Can you turn on your external speakers a little? There we go. Okay, so first up, we've got Jacqueline Heath. A few deals. This is a hat trick. She got 200 pounds a month for social media, 200 pounds to build the social media following for a coaching business, and 150 a month for 5 generic posts per day for a guy who wants to increase the number of partners to promote an energy company that works nationwide. So a total of $695 per month.
Wow.
Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
Awesome. Great
win, Jacqueline. Great win. Bill Cook. This was his biggest win to date. Bill is in Remote Millionaires.
Mm-hmm.
And $2,297 a month SEO and Google Business Management for a pest control company.
Yeah.
Woo,
yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
That's almost $36,000 a year, right? $36,000 client right there.
Yeah, solid. Really good.
Yeah, really, really good. Israel closed their first deal. Whoa! Woo! Israel, the first deal closed. That's awesome. Managing a client's blog, $497 a month.
Yeah, fantastic.
Solid deal. Solid deal. Donna Norris, look at these wins.
It doesn't surprise me at all, Tom. Does not surprise me.
$19.97 a month, plus a bonus of basic SEO for the first month. Another client, full SaaS and CRM package for a whopping $3,997 a month. Man. Plus another amazing client for $397 a month. 3 hot leads with the potential to close between 2 to 4 and by the end of the week. I mean, think about that. That's almost a $50,000 client, the 3,900 one, right? You're talking 48 grand. 48 grand at the end of the year. And the other one was 36. So that's 70. Oh my God. That's almost $90,000.
Cha-ching.
For 12 months. That's amazing.
So it doesn't surprise me at all with Donna.
Yeah, great stuff. Dale Lauder, back in February, he made a free video for a guy, and he liked it so much, he wanted to pay for it, $200.
Good stuff.
Last week, he reached out and wanted another video. He said, okay, but what he really needs is a website. So he said, okay, he built it without knowing how much it was going to be. Initially, he was going to say 1,000, but decided to ask 2,000. He said the client was in shock for a minute. But Dell was able to justify the value by letting him know he had to create all the content out of thin air. Boom, $2 grand paid.
Cha-ching. Yeah,
I wouldn't recommend that approach most of the time. Like, probably good to handle some expectations and let them know up front. But great job, Dale. I'm glad it worked out. Devendra and Nick, they fired a client. And always a good feeling when you can fire a client.
Yeah, it is actually.
Yeah, it is. They had given this client a huge discount for a website, etc. The project was delayed by the former client, and they are standing around on not making any more accommodations for them and decided to let them go. Awesome.
Yeah. I obviously have been talking to Devendra and Nick this week, and Tom, the story about the last time I did a low value website, and it was for a friend of a friend. And the rule I put in place post that is, there is a certain type of business we just don't work with anymore because they just cost too much in time and resources. So, it is often really one of the most difficult things is saying no when you're trying to build an agency business, but it can actually be one of the most empowering things, and one of the smartest financial decisions you'll make is by not getting into a deal that turns out it was just going to suck your resources and cost you money ultimately. So yeah, good on them. Well done.
Yeah, well, it feels good when because these guys are building and growing their business. And when you're building and growing your business and you get to that point, like, in the beginning, it's really hard because you need the money, right? You need the money. It feels good when you get a little bit of stability and you don't have to just take every client that comes knocking on your door. You can be a little more choosy, And so that's really a big, that's a big one.
And our own Norm Thomas, just before we quickly get to Cody, Norm Thomas effectively interviews his customers, before accepting them, and which I thought was really, wow, that's pretty advanced and some of that, but that actually creates a much more stable and bigger and more prosperous business for Norm, and he's proved that actually works. So yeah, good on him. It's a great technique.
Yeah,
here's my main guy down the road, Cody. This is another guy that just takes action.
Yeah, Cody closed a new website for a blinds company, 1,200 plus email hosting for $50 a month, and design services AI a cart, services a la carte. I thought that was AI. $50 a month and design services a la carte billed hourly. So awesome stuff.
Awesome.
That is a combined total. So. Look, when we combine the totals of the wins, we don't push it out. So the combined totals for the week are 14,327 from March 30th through April 5th, because we track money collected, right? We track money collected. So if you have a recurring monthly client, you should be posting that win every single month. Every time that invoice gets paid, you should be posting that win. What would be really great, and I think this would really help to fire other, and look, listen, you're not doing this for you. You're doing this to help fire up the other people in the community. But I think what would really be great is if you say in that post, like, hey, this is payment number 8, payment number 3, payment number 4, whatever it is, right? So people can see that. I think this is a great idea. You should be posting those recurring months. So if you're posting wins now, please post anything that you send an invoice out for that gets paid in the month, post those every single month, because I think that's really great. Because the reality is, we say this is $14,327, but I mean, if those clients stay for a year, that's another, I mean, that's almost $100,000, week that really happens. So
yeah,
our grand total since the start of 2024, $269,360. So keep posting those wins, keep them coming. We'll love to see that. So excellent work, everybody. We do have, hold on, let me find this down here. We do have a member of the week this week. So look, one of the things that we do here is we pick a member of the week, somebody who takes action, is a good steward of the community. This.
The new Flash one.
Yes, the new Offline Sharks treasure chest. The stuff inside is a secret, so if you get one of these, don't share it. But our member of the week this week is dun da da dun da da da. Bill Cook.
Yay!
Congratulations, Bill.
Yeah, awesome.
Congratulations, awesome.
Well deserved, and that's it's a great deal he got across the line as well. And I've been working quite closely with Bill, and he's got some great setup stuff on the go. He's got a great agency that he's building as well. He's got a great concept. Love what he's doing. So congratulations, Bill.
Yeah, really great stuff. Really great stuff. Okay. Devendra, no giving away what's in the treasure chest. We have a little bit of time. Do you guys have any questions for me or Richie about, is there something, here's a great question, because we're talking about accountability. We're talking about mentorship. Is there something you're struggling with? Like, what are you struggling with to stay accountable with right now? Post it in the chat and let's talk about it. Maybe we can devise a little mini plan to do it. While you're doing that, I am going to do something that we haven't done in a while, which is, what's Tom reading? So I used to do a regular segment on here where I would recommend books, and you can find all the books we've ever recommended on the show at offlinesharks.com/books. There's a lot of great books in there that will help you develop discipline, accountability, mindset stuff, all those kinds of things, different things I've read, stuff I've applied. I know a few weeks ago, I said I was going to read this book called Crucial Conversations. I didn't read it. So how's that for accountability, right? I was like, I'm going to start reading this book. So I share this to show that I'm just like all of you. We all struggle with sticking with doing what we want to do, right? So, and the reason I didn't read it was because another book caught my attention. I have a short attention span, and I was like, I'm going to read this first. So I have been reading this book. It's by Morgan Housel. It's called Same as Ever, A Guide to What Never Changes. I am finding this book to be fantastic. Like, this guy also wrote a book called The Psychology of Money that is really, really good. But this, A Guide to What Never Changes, is awesome. Like, listen to this thing. So this is a story about stories about what people have always done and will always do. So, there's so many books out there that talk about, this is how things are changing. Here's the latest trend. Here's all the new stuff. This book is about all the timeless lessons and wisdom that never changes, right? There's lessons about risk, opportunity, and living a good life. And, I have just found it to be like super, super good. So if you're into this kind of stuff, It's kind of a philosophy type book, but I'd highly recommend it. Okay, what questions did we get? Okay, so I see some questions here. Let me see. Okay. Gordon says he's struggling with his coffee stash. Uh-oh. Jacqueline says, I struggle with time. I have family commitments that have reduced my working week down to 3 days. Jacqueline, this is a very common problem. And honestly, this is something that we struggle with at all levels in business and in life, because, here's the thing that but we kind of touched on this earlier in the show, right? The more successful we get, the more is required from us, the more things there are to do, right? A lot of times it looks different from what we were doing before, but there's still things to do, right? So, a couple of ways that we've gotten over this. One is some of the strategies we've already talked about. Scheduling, like laying out a schedule for the week, getting clear on our goals and what we're trying to do, and really spending more time figuring out what the most important next step is, right? That's we call that the MENS method, the most important next step, because there's lots of things, when you're trying to reach a goal, there's lots of things you can be doing, but not everything you can be doing will get you closest to the goal the fastest. So you really want to make sure you're working on the most important next steps to where you're trying to go. The big things that move the needle. That means making sure there's other things in your life are organized as well, so that you're not constantly pulled and distracted. And when you do have those 3 days to work, you can really work. You're not pulled away doing other things, right? You can really focus on them. That's so some of those things we already talked about. The other side of this is bringing in some help, right? So what is it that you're currently doing that you could be, having somebody else do or something like that? So, bringing in people to start to take some of that off our plate, because a lot of those things still need to get done, right? So prospecting still needs to get done on a daily basis, right? Even when you can only work 3 days a week. So how do you so to me, that would be a most important next step, right? I can only work 3 days a week, but prospecting needs to happen Monday through Friday. So what do I need to be doing to make that happen? So maybe that means you're doing reach, right? So maybe that means on those 3 days, you're setting up, building a list, loading in a reach machine, so that on the days you're not, that reach machine is sending out emails, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to bring in another person, but you could use software to do that too. So that would be one way to do that. The other way would be, well, maybe I need to bring in somebody to do that and help me out as well, right?
Yeah, that's the key. Is break it down and apply the time you can apply to it, and be disciplined about it. But yeah, most important next step, revenue generating activities.
Yeah, Devendra, this is a great question. How to deal with unexpected events occurring when you have a busy workload. Let's face it, life happens, right? Life happens to all of us. One day you're going along just fine. The next second, your toenail is completely ripped off, right?
Yeah.
And you have a phone meeting in 20 minutes, right? So what do you do, right? So this comes back to a little bit of mental toughness and developing some mental discipline, okay? So the first thing is when unexpected events come up, a lot of times there's going to be an initial moment of freak out, right? Your initial reaction is going to be depending on what the unexpected event is, right? Like there's going to be a time when you just don't really know how it's going to impact you, or you start thinking about all this stuff. Like, so the first thing is you got to try to like kind of calm yourself down from that initial rush of emotions and all the thoughts that go in every direction, right? And you got to kind of come back and say, okay, what is the thing I need to do right now? Like, I'm just going to use my toe as an example. I know it's not a great example, but I'm just going to use it as an example because I had a call. I literally had a call I had to be on in 20 minutes, an important business call in 20 minutes. And that happened. So the first thing was like, well, is my toe still attached? Right? Like
you should check that. Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
The toe is attached. It's bleeding a little. Can we stop the bleeding? And then the next question is, okay, well, do I need to go to the doctor? Now, here's the thing about that. What can the doctor do about it? Now, I was very fortunate in that my wife, when she turned 40, she ran a marathon. And as a result of that, her toenail fell off. And so I knew that there was nothing the doctor could do about it. When it gets ripped off, like you have to trim it down and you just got to let it, like there's really nothing you can do. So the big thing was, well, can we stop the bleeding? Because it cut the end of my toe. And then if we can do that, well, there's nothing really the doctor can do. So like, I don't need to be rushing out to try to get to the doctor or anything like that. So we made this like kind of makeshift bandage to try to stop the bleeding. I propped my foot up on a chair and I got on my Zoom call. So I was sitting like this with my foot up on a chair and I did the meeting because I realized that I wasn't really in pain, right? I wasn't really in pain. Like I got my bearings. I didn't let the emotion of the situation take over. And listen, that can be very, very hard to do. And sometimes the emotions take over. Cut yourself some slack. If it's really an emergency, people will understand.
Yeah, true.
If it's really an emergency, like if my toe, like if I couldn't stop the bleeding or I really thought I needed to go to the doctor, I would have just messaged the person and said, hey, listen, I've had an emergency come up. I hurt my toe. I got to go to the doctor. Right. So the key there is communication. So, really looking at a big thing for me is, well, what happened and what can I really do about it at this moment? And trying to keep those emotions in check.
Yeah. And Kristen's got a really good suggestion here, Tom. Ice and ibuprofen
or margaritas. Yes.
I think the margaritas. You're onto something there, Kristen. Yeah.
But Devendra, anyway, so that kind of judgment of the situation, and then you just adjust what you need to adjust, and sometimes that can mean reaching out to your business partner or other people involved in your business and say, hey, I've got I guess don't be afraid to ask for help is really what I'm saying.
Yeah, we're in the entrepreneurial space. Unexpected things are going to happen.
Yeah, and it's going to be the other way too. Unexpected things are going to happen to your business partner, and you may need to carry the load while they're dealing with those. That just know that those things happen, and it's okay, right? So, try to keep a cool head. If you can't at first, then once you do, I also like to make a list of if something's really going on and I can't wrap my head around it, I say, okay, what's the worst things that can happen? And I write that down. What's the best things that can happen? Knowing that the reality is going to be somewhere in the middle. So sometimes just getting those thoughts on paper will help you really kind of clarify and see what you're doing. So look, stuff is going to happen. You're going to have to deal with it. Again, cut yourself some slack and do that.
Hey, just quickly, our good friend Taylor Stillman, he's late because he just closed a $1,500 social deal with a new restaurant in Boston.
Taylor. Hey, make sure to post that in the group, Taylor.
Yeah, please do. Yeah. But awesome, well done, Taylor. That's it's a great way to wind the week out and get ready for Monday. Yeah, good stuff. Well done.
Yeah. Let's see. Get a grip.
What have we got on this weekend, Tom?
I'm trying to see if I miss any questions here. Hold on. Paige is my oldest daughter is working, and my youngest daughter has a volleyball game, so doing stuff with them.
Yeah.
Dorn, I struggle with online poker dogs. I struggle with in real life, in person poker. Dorn, so my mom always told me that there is one fish at every poker table, but I've been playing for 2 years and I still haven't seen him. So I do not know what's going on. I don't think she was right. A little poker joke for Dorn. So I'm just looking at this thing. Oh, so Donna said that she has the same time kind of constraints too. She's got a toddler that stays up late. Her boyfriend has to work early. She's kind of stuck with all that stuff. So she said the automated emails have been helping her out a lot with that. And she's got on some support. So she's like, that's good. And then a VA is the next thing.
Yeah, that's the thing. You've just got to build the resources. There's no point in going out and hiring a dozen people and then going looking for customers. You've got to build the team as you go along, and getting those habits and disciplines in place, you will build. And look at what Donna's doing. She's building out a very, very successful agency business.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Kristen said she broke her toe in October, so she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I lost a thumbnail once, and that was with a mechanical wood splitter, and it took my thumbnail off. And that was. And my mother-in-law was right beside me. We were doing firewood, obviously, and the expletives and the language that came out of my mouth, she'd never heard anyone talk like that before. So I've been reminded of it many times. But it's pretty painful, obviously. Toenail, thumbnail. It's not a pleasant experience.
The only good thing that came out of it was I got to really have some fun with my daughters, because when they came home from school, I told them, I was like, listen, like, look at my toe. And they were like, oh my gosh. I was like, it was horrible because it got ripped off. I called the doctor and I was like, I'm going to come in. And the doctor said, do not come in. We will not help you for this. Do not come here. And my daughters were like, why? And I was like, well, they said I needed a tow truck.
That is one of the best dad jokes I've ever heard.
They looked at me like they're like, did you rip your toenail off just so you could do that stupid joke? I'm like, I think they may wonder.
That's an absolute ripper. Fantastic.
Awesome. Well, look, I know we went a little over today, but it's been so much fun hanging out with you. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Richie, thanks for being here, hanging out with me. Again, go to remotemillionaires.com/accountable. Check that out. Also, too, if you want to get some clarity on what your most important next steps are, for those of you that saw the agency evolution training we did, we've got this little flow chart tool that we've been using where you can kind of see based on what you have going on in your business or where you're trying to go, what you need to be working on and what you're doing. So, you can always schedule a call with somebody on our team. They can walk through that flow chart with you. They can talk about your most important next steps. Sometimes it's they can point you in the direction of things in the community that might help you to help get some traction and stuff like that. Or if it seems like it's a good fit, maybe, something like Shark Alliance or Agency Evolution is something that will help you along as well. So, don't be afraid to hop on, all that stuff. No stress, no pressure. We just want to help you out and help you guys get traction and share more wins. So, yeah, listen.
Well, and that's the first action, the best action, have a look at it. Take stock of your situation and apply the resources that you need,
Yes, absolutely, Richie. Look, everybody's like, forget the song. I forgot the song last week, and I thought people were gonna I'm not ducking it. I promise, I'm not ducking it. Here, look, we'll do this last thing, Richie. This is what they want.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar. Ching, ching, bling, bling, got the chatter. You ain't talking money, then you're talking no matter.
How's that for a count? Look at that. I get
a Friday without that.
Well, look, another important lesson in accountability, because I got all of you to stay and listen to all that stuff I spouted through this show by simply offering to give 2 people a little bit of Cash App money. So I
wouldn't be surprised if
I got you to watch the whole show.
Yeah.
And this is
if
all
you did miss it, Tom, because a couple of weeks ago, Dawn and I, we kind of went way over budget. We gave away lots. Yeah.
Oh.
So, but you guys weren't here. You left us in control. You left us with the lolly jar, and so we just had to go. It was good fun, though.
You just took. Yeah. That's okay. I'm only going to send 1 kid to college, so it's all right.
That means you have to choose a favorite.
So look, the winners this week are Jerry Wright and James. Jerry Wright and James. Tara Wiskett. I know I say your name wrong, James, but the team's going to reach out to you. You guys, congratulations on the Cash App money. Everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. Again, hope you have a great weekend. Stay safe. Practice aloha. We'll see you here next Friday. Same shark time, same shark channel.
Enjoy.
You've been watching the Aloha Marketing Jam session. We've helped thousands just like you start and scale their businesses. If you'd like our help to grow your business, go to the link on your screen now and let us know how we can help you. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this stream. We'll be back here next Friday for another live show. Until then, aloha.